ALBA nations meet to discuss economic challenges in the region in a post-COVID-19 era. A hospital and several vehicles have been vandalized over COVID-19 rumors. And Kosovo's president promises to resign if war crimes charges against him are confirmed. Hello and welcome to Telesur English. I am Estefania Bravo in Quito, Ecuador. This is From the South. This Monday marks the 15th anniversary of the regional integration mechanism known as Petrocaribe. On the occasion of the anniversary, member countries of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America are participating in a joint video conference of the political and the economic councils of the bloc. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Reaza announced the strengthening of commitments as well as energy cooperation agreements that will allow for the reduction of existing inequalities in the region.
Because today is 15 years of the creation of this initiative, Petrocaribe. Let's recall our commander, Hugo Chavez, in the year 2005. In the spirit of ALBA that had just been born in 2004, it was already visible, an initiative that came with all of the support from the countries of the alliance. And Petrocaribe has had a pivotal role in it. If we recall the crisis of the capitalist system in 2008, 2009, thanks to Petrocaribe, along with its supplying capacity, its long-term potential, its flexibility, along with their own funds, and the way that they redistributed their income in the social sectors, we were able to see an initiative that was able to give a support to the most complicated and weak economies of our area. This in the hardest years of that crisis. And Petrocaribe has continued to work regardless of all of the restrictions and sanctions against the Republic of Venezuela, regardless of the siege that we have endured. Petrocaribe is not only alive, but it's also going to have a superior level of coordination as of this meeting.
Venezuelan Oil Minister Tarek El Aissami outlined the path to be followed in order to achieve a sustainable regional economy during the ALBA meeting.
All the ideas that we have gathered in the past months, in the past weeks of hard work, to move forward towards the new system of protection, of production. We have to identify the potentialities of every country in order to achieve a regional economic integration, where we give priority to complementarity, each country producing what would bring them higher benefits, exchanging goods and services with other alternative compensation mechanisms to the Western dominant bank, which badly impacts the economies of our countries. We also have to build and develop the institutional structures. Like I said, Petrocaribe, ALBA Bank, in short and mid-term. We have to develop incentives, especially for the productive economy, and we have to be more agile, flexible, and understand the historic moment that our nations are facing, and make way to bilateral cooperation under these instruments that will surely be an example for the rest of the world.
Now into other news. Trinidad and Tobago is on phase 5 of its 6-tier plan to relax COVID-19 restrictions. However, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says he will be forced to close bars by this Monday if bar owners fail to abide by the guidelines of the public health regulations.
Right now, there are two issues in front of us, and both of them are two Bs. One of them is two Bs. One is the border, which will remain tightly managed, and the other is bars, which I will close by Monday. If the reports coming to me are the same reports that came to me today and last night, People have opened bars and are doing exactly what we stopped them from doing when it was closed, because what they're doing now is exactly what we asked them not to do. And I would love for all of us to be able to have a drink and to socialize and to hug somebody you haven't seen for a long time. But what is happening now is exactly the environment to create community spread. And if we continue to do that in an environment where we may have the virus in our population, we too will end up like Texas and Florida.
Cuba's Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez stressed the importance of maintaining union and cooperations among ALBA member nations in the face of unilateral actions of the United States.
Even during the pandemic, the policy of interference and interventionism, of domination of U.S. imperialism against our continent, based on the Monroe Doctrine, in the face of that, ALBA countries have strengthened our convictions, the defense of our sovereignty, of our people, and the cooperation aimed at ensuring economic and social development.
Cuban doctors arrived in Martinique over the weekend to help tackle the COVID-19 pandemic and alleviate the shortage of medical personnel. The doctors were received at the tarmac of the Lamentine airport after taking a special flight chartered by the territorial collectivity of Martinique. The brigade carried a Cuban flag and had their temperature taken on arrival. They also presented their passports and proof of having tested negative for COVID-19 to airport officials.
Right now, we're really managing the crisis of a delayed care. We have a heavy workload, so they come at a time when the hospital is running at full capacity. And we are a bit worried about the Guyanese crisis, and we might have to reinforce them. That's in the short term. In the long term, we now have a derogation that allows us to work with all the doctors in the world, and not only doctors who have a diploma from outside the European Union. And we want this to be the beginning of a long-term cooperation with Cuba, but also an example for the whole Caribbean, Latin America, or other countries we could work with.
According to the WHO, the world will have to face a new normal way of living with the coronavirus in the coming months as the disease continues to spread.
The critical question that all countries will face in the coming months is how to live with this virus. That is the new normal. We all want this to be over. We all want to get on with our lives. But the hard reality is this is not even close to being over. Although many countries have made some progress, globally, the pandemic is actually speeding up.
More stories coming up, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. A hospital and some vehicles were vandalized in Mexico over false COVID-19 rumors. Residents in a community in Chiapas burned 2 police cars and other nearby vehicles and vandalized a community hospital in southeastern Mexico. According to authorities, they were angry and reacted on false rumors about the spread of the coronavirus. The community believes the virus was being spread and was discussed in fumigation operations against dengue. Mexico registered over 4,000 cases during the weekend and more than 200 people died due to COVID-19 and has now reached over 200,000 infections and more than 20,000 deaths.
Last night, about 500, 600 people, in fact, not all of them participated in this event. Many just witnessed what was going on. They stopped 2 patrols blaming them for spraying coronavirus instead of dengue repellent. In some streets where people gathered and started attacking people, beating them up.
Communities of Afro-Uruguayans have demonstrated against racism. Protesters took to the streets in the capital Montevideo with drums and played the traditional African-derived candombe rhythm. They denounced racism against against them and the recent killing of George Floyd by police in the United States. Women and members of the LGBTQ community also joined the protest. The community held up Black Lives Matter signs and demanded justice for Black people killed in Uruguay and abroad.
There's no doubt that we of African descent have the drums ingrained as something very much of our own. But today, they are a pillar of popular culture. So we found that it was the best way to give an expression to this movement.
It is a social manifestation, and not only in the United States, but everyone should know that in Uruguay there are also people of African descent and that there are also racial problems that are not visualized.
In Guatemala, rural families have classified a variety of medicinal plants as an alternative treatment for the coronavirus amid a shortage of medicine at community public health centers. Let's have a look.
She's part of hundreds of indigenous families who keep a collection of medicinal plants effective to fight the new coronavirus, according to her.
We are poor. We don't have money in the communities, but we have to keep in mind that we have to use our old natural medicines. We don't need a lot of doctors, forgive me. Doctors study to help us as well, but there is medicine that doesn't do us well.
Many families rely on their own recipes made from plants which are native to their territories.
The ginger is cooked, the lemon tea is cooked, you cook the chamomile, the ginger, and the 5 key ingredients. You add the juice of these 3 lemons, and you sweeten it with this honey. That's what we have to do in order to prevent the coronavirus.
They say that natural medicine is an alternative for their healing of the new coronavirus, particularly with the collapse of public hospitals.
There's no need to worry. There is a solution. It is in our hands. It is just a matter of making it. You know, for me, plants are extremely important to eliminate any kind of health problems.
More than 50% of the Guatemalan population lives in rural areas, and a majority are able to cure their own diseases, thanks to the elements of nature, according to the senior member of the community.
We just take it from the mountain. We've taken it, and it helps cure us. If my children get sick, we also taken a bit of this remedy, and they get better.
In Guatemala, coronavirus cases have increased to over 10,000 cases. While the public care centers exist only in the capital city, the majority of population does not have decent hospitals in the departments throughout the country.
Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez reported the latest figures of COVID-19 infections in the country.
There are 142 cases, 140 from abroad, and 2 of contact with international travelers at a social care post in the state of Táchira. 138 of these cases came from Colombia.
According to official data, close to 100,000 people live in so-called poverty camps in Chile in the midst of a health crisis that has also brought massive layoffs. More details in this report.
The word camp is usually associated with vacations and adventures, but in Chile it means poverty. But not even the poor are called poor. They are now vulnerable. So this is a vulnerable camp, and even more so with the COVID-19 pandemic and the winter.
Violeta Parra is a takeover of land that begins on September 1st, 2019. Clearly, people in here cannot ask for a loan to buy a house, and even more at this time of pandemic. They can't even afford rent. So this was the only solution we had, to raise awareness of our necessities.
With most households without a source of income, they need solidarity and help from abroad.
We were working on building a library for kids. This was our main challenge, then we were hit by the pandemic, and we had to act quickly to resolve our urgent needs, which was helping people. And with the lack of employment, we tried to help them overcome basic necessities, food and clothes.
There are some organizations that are helping us. They tell us that they will bring food on a given day, so we count on that. and we don't have to worry for another day now.
Singer and songwriter Violeta Parra would speak of the needs of the people, which are reflected here in the coldness and the mud. For example, this man makes fences, another man works on building his home, and these women cook lasagna for everyone.
One of the neighbors shares her home and her kitchen. We need them, and she is kind to let us have it.
We go to the fair and we ask for things we need. Sometimes people bring us little things, and with that we survive day by day. Sometimes we ask the collaboration, some coins, so we can buy meat, chicken, and what we might need.
I came to this land takeover on September 16th with my 3 kids. Now, unfortunately, I lost one of my kids. He was run over by a car during the entrance of the takeover. He was 4 years old. I fought for them so I can have my own home, and I will continue fighting. I will fight until the last minute. We have gone through hard times. We lived in tents, we were cold, and now we're more organized, but we still have necessities, we still have needs. All of us here will keep fighting for the same thing, for a dignified home and our lives, as well as for our children's lives.
Close to half of the populations are immigrants, mainly from Colombia and Haiti.
We had many needs, and we were bad economically. So this was the option we had so that we can live in peace.
We are approximately 600 families here in 7 committees. We have a lot of foreigners living in the same conditions on the land. We saw the foreigners were living in overcrowded places, and there is still a lot of racism in Chile, and people take advantage of the foreigners.
These populations were called Callampa. They would appear from night to the morning. The social housing projects have somehow alleviated the problems, but have created another one, a social ghetto and overcrowding. Now more than 100,000 people live like that, and the number is growing with the crisis created by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are fighting for all, Violeta Parra, so we can all have our homes soon, so we can live and have a strength to fight hard, and to be healthy.
Alejandro Kirk, Telesur, Santiago de Chile.
Somalian businesses have started to bear the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country's airlines and other key businesses fear that it is going to be difficult for them to recover from the economic meltdown caused by the virus as cases continue to rise. The COVID-19 came as the East African country was on the verge of recovering from decades of civil wars. Somalia has almost 2,900 cases and 90 people have died from the virus.
The airline industry was growing fast, but unfortunately, this pandemic affected the whole world, causing huge losses. As Somali Airlines, we lost about $125 million the last 3 months only.
The coronavirus inflicted losses on countries around the world, and especially Somalia. Somalia is a devastated country that is recuperating from years of war and conflict. Its economy was gradually rising from ashes. This year, the economy was expected to grow by 3.2% to 3.3%, and this projected growth was badly affected by this virus. We can say that airline industry is the hardest hit.
Schools have reopened in Tanzania after 3 months of closure due to the coronavirus. The Tanzanian government has ordered the rest of schools to open in the second phase after allowing only universities to open in the first phase at the beginning of June. Safety measures, including social distancing, washing of hands, and wearing of masks, still remain compulsory in school premises. The country has recorded 509 cases and 21 people have died from the virus. Gabon's Senate voted on Monday to decriminalize homosexuality, a landmark result that makes the country one of the few in Africa to reverse a ban on same-sex relationships. Under a law passed in 2019, Gabon became one of the 73 countries around the world where sex between people of the same gender was deemed illegal. The government's move to reverse part of the law has sharply divided opinion and sparked intense debate on social media. In Gabon, homosexuality is still broadly seen as a taboo. We're taking one last break, but stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Senegalese President Macky Sall has announced the lifting of the curfew and of the state of emergency, which has been in place since March 23rd.
Just as we can't let the virus take our lives and our health, we can't let it take over the life and health of our economy either. Therefore, my dear compatriots, taking into account this twofold vital necessity, I have decided to lift the state of emergency and the corresponding curfew as of tomorrow, 30 June 2020 at 11 p.m. Airspace borders will reopen from the 15th of July, and international flights will thus resume under a defined health protocol. Land and sea borders will remain closed until further notice.
Libya's tribes made a call on Monday for an end to the crippling blockade of the country's oil production industry. Libya's National Oil Corporation raised their voice to condemn the over $6 billion in lost revenue since January and to demand for oil benefits to have a fair distribution among all Libyans. So far, local and international efforts have allied to persuade the Libyan Trial Council to reopen the field, as oil has long been a key factor in the civil war.
Anyone who is far from this place hears that Libya has oil, but we, as residents of the city of Wahat area, Halu, Auhila, Jikara, Tatsirbu and Kufra, the oil is in front of us and we see with our own eyes, but we do not benefit from it. Rather, it causes us air pollution because of the smoke that is transmitted to us by the winds, and we just find ourselves forced to inhale this smell. While billions are spent there in Tripoli, it is spent between embassies and between forged bank credits.
The president of Kosovo vowed to resign if criminal charges over his role in the 1990s war are proved true by the International Criminal Court.
I assure you I will not face justice from this office. If the accusation is confirmed, I will immediately resign as your president and face the accusations.
Iran has issued an arrest warrant for U.S. President Donald Trump and dozens others who were responsible for killing the country's top general in Baghdad. A Tehran prosecutor, Ali Al-Qasimer, has announced that Trump, along with more than 30 others, have committed murder and terrorism by killing General Qasem Soleimani in a drone attack in January. Iran has asked Interpol to help in detaining the U.S. president.
We have identified 36 persons who ordered assassination of Qasem Soleimani and his companions, or were accomplices and assisted with this terrorist action. We have issued an arrest warrant and requested it of the Interpol.
The former French Prime Minister François Fillon has been sentenced to 5 years in prison, with 3 suspended for fraud. A court in Paris found Fillon guilty of orchestrating a fake job for his wife, a scandal that cost him his shot at the presidency in 2017. His wife was handed a suspended 3-year sentence for participating in the scheme and had to pay over €1 million over a period of 15 years. The couple was also given a fine of more than €375,000 in order to return €1 million to the National Assembly. Lawyers for the jailed former French Prime Minister and his wife have vowed to appeal the fraud sentence.
Naturally, this decision, which is not fair, will be appealed. It is being appealed right now. And there will be a new trial. There will be a new trial, which is all more necessary, because in the last few days, we have finally begun to understand what we have been sensing since 2017.
And with that, we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And be sure to follow us on social media as well. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, and of course on Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Estefania Bravo. Until next time.